Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 22, verse number 35. 22, 35. I'll need a different book. This goes up to chapter 13. This verse is spoken by Krishna. It's in the chapter of Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis. In this chapter, the gopis had been praying to goddess Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that those who worship demigods are less intelligent. So why were the gopis worshiping the demigods? Not because they're less intelligent, but because They're pure devotees, and they're asking Katyayani to give them benediction that Krishna would be their husband. And Prabhupada points out elsewhere that worshiping the demigods per se is not a difficulty if one is praying to them to improve their service to Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself visited many devas on his tour of South India, and he'd see them all as Krishna's eternal servitors. So one should not consider the holy names of the Lord to be equal to or independent of the names of the demigods. And in this chapter, we find Krishna. What verse number is 33? 35, thank you. There's a long purport. As Krishna after he's enacted the pastime of stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis in order to fulfill their desire, and he is strolling away with his friends. And of course, this pastime is indicative of the way that Krishna fulfills the desires of all living beings. Saparya gachtrukram akayam avranam asnaviram shrudam apapavidam kaviram manishi paribhusvayambur yatat yatitotan viradashasvatibhya samabhyaha. Krishna is the self-sufficient philosopher with everyone's heart, who has been fulfilling the desires of every living entity since the time immemorial. So then it's in the same chapter that Krishna is walking with his friends, and he's making comments to them as they walk away. And he says a few things. Just backing up for context to text number 23, the gopis were addicted to associating with their beloved Krishna, and thus they became captivated by him. Thus, even after putting their clothes on, they did not move. They simply remained where they were, shyly glancing at him. 24, the Supreme Lord understood the determination of the gopis in executing their strict vow. The Lord also knew that the girls desired to touch his lotus feet, and thus Lord Damodar Krishna spoke to them as follows. Lord Krishna said, "O saintly girls, I understand that your real motive in this austerity has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved by me, and indeed it must come to pass." 26, the desire of those who fix their minds on me does not lead to material desire for sense gratification. Just as barley corns burned by the sun and then cooked can no longer grow into new sprouts. Go now, girls, and return to Vraj. Your desire is fulfilled. For in my company you will enjoy the coming nights. After all, this was the purpose of your vow, to worship Goddess Katyayani, O pure-hearted ones. Text number 28. Shukadev Goswami said, thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the young girls, their desire now fulfilled, could bring themselves only with great difficulty to return to the village of Vraj, meditating all the while on his lotus feet. Some time later, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, surrounded by his cowherd friends and accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, went a good distance away from Vrindavan herding the cows. So you see, this chapter is called Krishna Steals the Gopis' Garments. But now there's this switch in the action here, where Krishna is walking far away from Vrindavan with his cows and friends. 30, when the sun's heat became intense, the Lord saw that the trees were acting as umbrellas by shading him, and thus he spoke as follows to his boyfriends. Lord Krishna said, O Stoka Krishna, O Amshu, O Sridhama, O Subala, and Arjuna, O Vrishabha, O Jasvi, Devaprastha, and Varutapa. Just see these greatly fortunate trees whose lives are completely dedicated to the benefit of others. Even while tolerating the wind, rain, heat, and snow, they protect us from these elements. Just see, 33, how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. 34, these trees fulfill one's desires with their leaves, flowers, and fruits, their shade, roots, bark, and wood, and also with their fragrance, sap, ashes, pulp, and shoots. And now today's verse, the word for word. I'll say, if you'd like, you can repeat. Etavat, up to this, janma, of birth, sapalyam, perfection, dehinam, of every living being, iha, in this world, dehishu, toward those who are embodied, pranai, by life, aratai, by wealth, tia, by intelligence, vacha, by words, shreya, eternal good fortune, acharanam, acting practically, sada, always. In the translation, it is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. Let's say together. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, and intelligence. And while we're chanting the Sanskrit, if somebody would look up individually Adi 942 and see if Prabhupada gave purport there. Eta vajjanmasa palyam dehinam iha dehishu pranayar artayar diha vacha sreya acharanam sada. A few chanters. Etavaj janmasa palyam dehinam iha dehishu pranar artar diavacha shaya acharanam sada. Etavaj janmasa palyam dehinam iha dehishu pranar artar diavacha shaya acharanam sada. Etavasya masapalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranar artar diavacha etavasya masapalyam dehinam iha dehishu artar diavacha shaya acharanam sada. Purport. This is from 932, 42. I'm only off by 10 today. Keep that in mind. There are two kinds of general activities, shreyas, or activities which are ultimately beneficial and auspicious, and prayas, or those which are immediately beneficial and auspicious. For example, children are fond of playing. They do not want to go to school to receive an education. and they think that to play all day and night and enjoy with their friends is the aim of life. Even in the transcendental life of Lord Krishna, we find that when he was a child, he was very fond of playing with his friends of the same age, the cowherd boys. He would not even go home to take his dinner. Mother Yashoda would have to come out to induce him to come home. Thus, it is a child's nature to engage all day and night in playing, not caring even for his health and other important concerns. This is an example of prayas, or immediately beneficial activities. But there are also shreyas, or activities which are ultimately auspicious. According to Vedic civilization, a human being must be God conscious. He should understand what God is, what this material world is, who he is, and what their interrelationships are. This is called shreyas, or ultimately auspicious. In this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that one should be interested in shreyas. To achieve the ultimate goal of shreyas, or good fortune, one should engage everything, including his life, wealth, and words, not only for himself, but for others also. However, unless one is interested in shreyas in his own life, he cannot preach of shreyas for the benefit of others. He cannot preach of shreyas for the benefit of others. This verse cited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu applies to human beings, not to animals, as indicated in the previous verse by the words Manusha Janma. These injunctions are for human beings. Unfortunately, human beings, although they have the bodies of men, are becoming less than animals in their behavior. This is the fault of modern civilization, modern education. Modern educators do not know the aim of human life. They are simply concerned with how to develop the economic condition of their countries or of human society. This is also necessary. The Vedic civilization considers all aspects of human life, including dharma, religion, artha, economic development, kama, sense gratification, and moksha, liberation. But humanity's first concern should be religion. To be religious, one must abide by the orders of God. But unfortunate people in this age have rejected religion, and they are busy in economic development. Therefore, they will adopt any means to get money. For economic development, one does not need to get money by hook or by crook. One needs only sufficient money to maintain his body and soul. However, because modern economic development is going on with no religious background, people have become lusty, greedy, and mad after money. They are simply developing the qualities of rajas, passion, and tamas, ignorance, neglecting the other quality of nature, sattva, goodness, and the Brahminical qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. The Bhagavatam says that it is the duty of an advanced human being to act in such a way as to facilitate human society's attainment of the ultimate goal of life. There is a similar verse in the Vishnu Purana, Part 3, Chapter 12, verse 45, which is next quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I first offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who gave us both the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, to all the previous acharyas, and to all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhishcha kripasinabhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you for being wish-fulfilling trees for all living beings. This is a principle that Krishna, this meaning, the verse, indicates a principle that is also prominent in the Bhagavad Gita. Today's verse, etavaj, means up to this point, etavaj janma sapalyam, to make one's life perfect, sapalyam. Dehinam iha dehishu. One should be inclined and work for the benefit of those who are embodied. Dehinam iha dehishu. And how should one do that? Praner artar diya vacha. Praner means with one's life. Artha means wealth. Diya means intelligence. And vacha means words. Shreya, this is that one should use these various tools for shreyas, for the ultimate good. Shreyas acharanam sada. One should act like this for the benefit of others. That should be the behavior of human beings. Sada, always, means this is a solid principle, applies in all places, in all circumstances. Eta vaj and sada. And iha means here, now that we're here in this world. We're here in this body, dehinam, we're embodied. We should act for the benefit of other embodied beings. Pranir artha diya vacha. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions the principle of yajna, yajnai sankirana, excuse me, that's Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Yagnartat karmano nyantara, loko yam karma bandhana, tadartam karma konteya, mukta sangha samachara. There's a way in which Krishna mentions how human beings can be happy by giving yajna. And he mentions that this is the system set up for humans, is giving to the devas. One should ultimately, however, Krishna makes this principle clear, bhoktaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyapamam shantim richti. One should give to Krishna because bhoktaram, he's the Lord of all the sacrifices. There are many rituals for giving to devas, but ultimately he's the head of all the devas, and therefore if you give to him, then naturally everyone else will be satisfied. And of course, people think of giving as being meritorious. However, we can't individually pay back everyone. We have in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Karabhajana Muni mentions this principle. How does that start? Devarshi bhutatma nrinam pitrinam nakinkorom nayam ranicha rajam sarvatmanaja sharanam sharanyam gatom kundam parihrita kartam. When we come into this life as embodied beings, we already have a debt to pay. We're rini, we're debtors. Even a little baby you see in the stroller, you look in there and go, hi Rini, you're a little debtor. You've got a debt to pay in this world, so everyone's cheering on little Rini that chop chop, grow up, get a job, and first go to school and start earning so you can pay your debts off. But Devarshi Bhutatma Nrinam Pitaram, who do we owe to? Devarshi, the Devas, the Rishis, Devarshi Bhutatma, other living beings, Nrinam Pitaranam, the forefathers. Where'd you get all your stuff anyway? You probably inherited a lot of it. Or even your body you inherited. And Devarshi Bhutatma Nrinam Pitaranam Nekinkoro Nayam Ranicha Rajan. So everyone's born into this situation of being a debtor, except Sarvatmanaya, if you give your whole self, Sarvatmanaya, Sharanam Sharanyam, and you take shelter of Mukunda, of Krishna, and you give to Krishna. Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam, you take shelter of the one who gives shelter to everyone. Gato Mukundam Parihrita Kartam, you take, give everything, take shelter of Mukunda. Then you're no longer a debtor because you're giving to Bhoktaram, the one who can accept everything and distribute it equally to everyone. Otherwise, if you try to individually take care of everyone, then you'll fall short. So this is the life principle for everybody, for throughout life in order to be happy. It's counterintuitive because most people try to accumulate and try to hold on to whatever they can. And that doesn't work because we can't hold on to anything in this world. So we see the principle, this principle, it applies in human society, that one should act for shreyas, for the ultimate good. And we find it as the main point of the Bhagavad Gita and of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Moving to a verse that caught the attention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Prataparudra Maharaj wanted to have darshan with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was told that it wouldn't be possible because Mahaprabhu's strict following of etiquette prevented him from meeting worldly people. And the king is the epitome of a worldly person. However, by various means, the devotees softened the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy gave recommendation letters. And then Mahaprabhu said to them, to Ramananda Roy particularly, well, if you're saying it, I'm sure he's going to get Krishna's mercy. Then, of course, Prataparudra Maharaj helped himself in the cause of coming close to the Lord by doing menial service. He swept in front of the cart of Lord Jagannath. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, witnessing this, decided to give him his special mercy. And for the other reasons as well. So much so that while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was at Balagandi, the carts during the Jagannath Rath Yatra stopped there so that devotees can come and offer various preparations. There are thousands. It's not done formally. People just come out of the village and they bring their offerings and they put them even on the cart and all around the cart. They offer them to Lord Jagannath. And around that time in the Jagannath Ballabh Gardens, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, having danced ecstatically for hours, then takes rest. And it was by design, the design of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who told Prataparudra Maharaj that you can then take your darshan, come dressed as a Vaishnav. And he, Prataparudra, met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was napping. And he began to massage his lotus feet. And as instructed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he recited verses from the Gopi Gita. It's a particular verse mentioned in that series of verses. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam shravana mangalam srimad-atatam. What is it? Kavibir iditam kalmashapatam shravana mangalam srimad-atatam bhuvi granantiye buddhi dajana. When he recited this verse, which indicates shreyas, in the mood that Srila Prabhupada is describing in his purport to Krishna speaking to his coward boyfriends. Kind of interesting also that we're in on a casual conversation that Krishna has with his friends. I was just here in the Bhagavatam. He walks away from his interaction with the gopis. Said, okay, that's done. Now he's walking with his boyfriends and the cows, and he says, by the way, the perfection of life for everyone is to give, shreyas. And now, on the advice of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he recites this verse, Tava katamritam tapta jivanam. The living beings are being incinerated here in this material world, but they can find relief by the amrita of Krishna Katha. That's the only relief in this world. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam. Tapta means they're undergoing severe austerities for the sake of trying to collect things for themselves, stave off death, and so forth. And as we discussed yesterday, there's only there's a panacea for that, which is Krishna Katha. So Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibir Iditam. These are topics. They're not ordinary. They're consumed by very discretionary audience. The kavis. Kavis are distinguished as highly learned in a literary sense, but also in the context, they're spiritually advanced. What's a kavi? Kavi is somebody who can write a poem that works forwards and backwards. And you can see that in the writings of the Goswamis. They were so literally astute that they write a poem, it works either way. Or if you want to go in geometrical patterns, they write them in various ways. They have such command of the language. And it matters to them how the syllables come together. Everything fits together. It's all in glorification of Krishna also. So they appreciate Krishna Katha. That's the level of topics of Krishna. And of course we know, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abadya Batyapi Namanyanantasya Yashon Kitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayati Grananti Sadhava. That Narada says to Vyasadeva that these things are revolutionary. Viplava means they've flipped the life of the living being who's dedicated, they've made a vow to stay in the material world. I don't care what anybody says, I'm not taking a Bhagavad Gita. Here, check this out. I'm good. I'm fine. But Viplava means somehow if they can come in contact with this, Tadvag Visarga, because it's from a different creation. We talked about this yesterday. It affects the heart of the living being. Rupa Goswami writes in his Namashtakam how if somebody tatva andanam, or they're blind to the truth, but if they hear the holy name, that, how does that start? Was it 1, 2, 3? Huh? Yadabaso pyudyan kabalita bhava dvantavivo drisham tatvandanam api dishati bhakti pranayinim. So if somebody's blind to the truth, but they can hear the transcendental vibration from the spiritual realm, the holy name, Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana, then even people who have no idea what it is, it awakens them to a sense of bhakti. Not just Atma Tattva Gyan, but they suddenly feel some devotion to God in their heart by hearing these vibrations. So this verse, that Prataparudra Maharaj, as he came to this verse, Tavakatamritam tatta jivanam kavibri iditam kalamashapaham Srimad Shravana Mangalam. It's just by hearing it creates auspicious. Shravana Mangalam Srimad Atatam Bhuvi Granantiye Buddhidajana. Buddhidajana means the most magnificent, the person who's giving the best giver in the world. That's what we're coming to in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because, we start with Krishna saying in the Bhagavad Gita, be fully Krishna conscious, chapter 12. Can't do that, practice thinking of Krishna through the rules and regulations. If you can't do that, then just try to work for Krishna. Give. You can't give to Krishna for some reason, and Prabhupada gives definition to that. It's like, your family won't let you. I'm sorry, I can't give a check. If it has ISKCON on it, I'm toast. So then he says, well, just volunteer somewhere. Go and volunteer in a national park and try to do good for others. That'll raise your awareness that as the more I give, the happier I become, the more fulfilled I am. That's a revelation to all living beings in the material world who are just trying to take for themselves. That's jivo jivasya jivanam. Hastani sahastanam. Apanani chatuspadam palguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. That statement early in the Bhagavatam, it says that living beings are just trying to eat each other. And, everyone's stealing everyone else's property, whatever wealth other people have, they try to siphon it off somehow. And ultimately, you've got a body, well, I think I'll just eat your body to stay alive. That's the material world. And It's scary, but it's the reality of the world. So then we have this flip towards the spiritual world. How does it happen? Eta vaj janmasapalyam. You want perfection in your life? Then learn how to give everything in a way of shreyas, of doing good for others. That's how you become happy. Tapta jivanam, kavibiriditam, kalamashapanam, shravanamangalam, srimadattatam, bhuvi garnantiye buddhidajana. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this verse, he became so enlivened that he embraced Prataparudra Maharaj at this point when he said this verse. And he said, you are the most magnificent. You are the most magnificent. He was saying over and over again to Prataparudra Maharaj for reciting that verse and letting that vibration out into the world that those who are giving Krishna Katha, those who are teaching others about Krishna, they are the most magnificent in the world. So this principle escalates throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. We get a little further on, chapter 82 in the Bhagavatam, just to enunciate the principle more. Everyone okay so far? I'm not convinced. Yes. All right. Well, I'll just say a few more things and then we can have a discussion. In chapter 82, which is the chapter that is parallel with the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 13, which is Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic dancing at Ratha Yatra. 82 is Ratha Yatra in Bhagavatam because it's the inhabitants of Vrindavan coming to Kurukshetra to meet Krishna after over 100 years of separation. And so in that chapter, we find, minus all the details, that Krishna meets Radharani and the residents of Vrindavan, or I should say, the residents of Vrindavan, and then finally Srimati Radharani. And there, in that situation, Krishna continues his antics from when he sent a letter to Vrindavan, where the gopis who were pining in separation from him got the following notice. Just try to be more aware that I'm in every atom. Be like the yogis and the gyanis. And the gopis are like, Krishna, come on. Nobody's laughing. This is not funny. And again, he, at Kurukshetra, begins to speak in a similar vein. And of course the gopis are indignant at hearing it. But they challenge him. He says, it's by God's arrangement that we've been separated for so long. And the gopis say, excuse me, but you are God. Krishna's like, well, anyway, Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amritat paya kolpate dishtya yat asin matsneho bhavatina manapanaha. He says something very important to the gopis. He said, yeah, I know that. And he continues by saying, whether I'm here or not here, whatever it is, I want you to know that you've developed the perfection of life, the pinnacle of the spiritual pinnacle you've achieved by your attitude, which is absolute, complete surrender to Krishna, giving everything to Krishna. And one may recoil upon hearing this. One may say, well, what kind of life is that for anyone in this world? In fact, Prabhupada mentions in the context of the verse, Sarvadharman parityaja, mamekam sharanam braja. He said when ordinary materialistic people hear this, they say, what is this, some kind of slavery or something? Prabhupada said, that's too, Prabhupada speaking in the voice of the materialist who rejects Krishna's offer to us, he says, that's just too much to ask. He's asking me to surrender everything. abandon everything else, just surrender to him? Yeah. And the gopis did just that. They showed that mood of complete surrender. No consideration. Prabhupada gives the story about how when Krishna had a headache, or he feigned a headache, and then he said, "Oh, headache, only one thing can cure me. I need dust from the feet of my devotees." And Narada's assisting, so I'll go find some devotees. And he goes, "Okay, Krishna's got a headache. What can we do? Dust from your feet. Well, what are you going to do with it?" Krishna wants to put it on his head. Like, no way, I'm not giving. Nobody would give. He went back to Krishna, said, "Nobody will give." He said, "Go to the gopis." This is a famous story. Many acharyas have said it. It illustrates the point. They went to the gopis and said, Narada did, "Krishna needs medicine." "What kind of medicine?" "He needs dust." "From where?" "From your feet." "Okay." Like, why? What? Everyone else rejected. Like, well, Krishna got a headache. Everyone else said they'll go to hell if they do that. It's like, we're in hell right now just thinking of Krishna's headache. Just take the dust. And Narada could understand then. And there was a similar exercise when Uddhava went to Vrindavan. Krishna was showing him the pinnacle of devotional service, the selfless idea the gopis had to give everything to Krishna. So he said to them, "Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amritat vayakalpate. Adishya yad asin matsneho bhavatina mat apanaha." So the implication here is that now Krishna is saying, everyone's considering what their position is in the material world giving something and what they're going to get out of giving. Even if it's on the spiritual side, you say, yagya, I'll do yagya if I get something out of it. Of course, sounds like a good idea. The gopis are beyond that. He said, your attitude is so selfless in giving that I can't even repay it. Napareham, same mood. I can't repay anything you've done. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama manuvartante manusha partha sarvasha. That I reciprocate with everybody. And he said, congratulations to the gopis. You've achieved something nobody else has achieved. This level of selfless giving, of Shreya Archananam, your activities are only centered on serving me selflessly with no other consideration of return. Therefore, he said, anyone who develops this mood of giving to me will attain eternal life. He said, but you've achieved a position that even I can't comprehend. He's God. And I can't pay back. So this is the secret to life. Atmanam akilatmanam. In chapter 14 of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev mentions that Krishna is the soul of our soul. And then he says, consider how much you want to give to yourself, how much you want to leave behind for yourself, take care of yourself, put a 401k for yourself, whatever. Do you have 401ks in Canada? I didn't want to give irrelevant. RSPCT. Find out what it means to me. So, yeah, you have something, everyone has some idea about how to preserve themselves in this world. And that's natural because Shukadeva says everyone's trying to preserve the body because there's three meanings to Atma: body, mind, soul. So when you're mistaken, you think the body's the Atma. And then when you're slightly realized, then you think the soul is the Atma. But Krishna is Atmanam Akilatmanam. He's the soul of our soul. So why am I taking care of myself so much? Why am I trying to keep so much for myself? Is because I think I'm the soul. My body's the soul. But then in self-realization, one focuses on oneself also. But Shukadeva says the ultimate conception is Atmanam Akilatmanam. Krishna is the soul of all souls. So if you like yourself so much, anybody here like themselves? maybe, anyway, that's an absurd question to ask an assembly of devotees, but by nature, we try to self-preserve because we like ourselves. I'm just saying. But Atmanam Akilatmanam, imagine then if you understood the ontology that actually Krishna is the soul of your soul. How much would you want to give to Krishna? Because in the same way that I'm selfish, now if you become selfish for your real self, then you've got the formula and you've attained the perfection of life. Naivatmana prabhuriyam nijalabha purno manam janam vidusa karuno vrinite yadyajjano bhagavati pratilabhyakamam tachchatmane pratimukhasyatami. I'm going to start over. Naivatmana prabhurayam nijalabha purno manam janam avidusad karuno vrinite yadyajjano bhagavati tadadit vidadita kamam tachchatmane pratimukasya yata mukashi. That last line is very important. This is Prahlad Maharaj enunciating the principle again of giving. And he says that if you go to the mirror and decorate your face, you will notice scientifically that the reflection in the mirror is also decorated. Homework, check it out. So it's analogous with this principle. He's saying, if you understand Atmanam Akilatmana, Krishna's soul of my soul, he's more important to me than I am to myself. Manasadeho Geho, Yo Kichumor. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, everything is yours, Krishna. I give it all to you, even myself. I don't belong to myself. It's yours. You're the soul of my soul. So Prahlad says, if you understand this principle, the more you give to Krishna, the more you're decorated. You've flipped the switch. And so, in conclusion, ours is a movement following this principle of Shreya. We wake up early in the morning to serve Krishna, and then we go out in the afternoon to serve Krishna by giving everyone the opportunity to become from the tapta jivanam, those who are burning in the material world, shravana mangalam, they get to hear something auspicious so they can awaken to their real purpose of life. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one who does this has not only understood the principle, but is the most dear to me. Out of anybody, there's nobody, he said, that's more dear to me than the person who not only understood this principle, it also distributes it to others. They shreya, giving to everybody else. So this is a good cause. There's many, well, let me rephrase. There are many great, I'll rephrase again. There are many good causes in Toronto, but there's only one great cause, and that's to distribute Krishna consciousness to oneself and others. All else is folly. Om Tat Sat. Now we'll take reflections or questions. We have 2 minutes, so make it snappy. Please. Point. Counterpoint. 2 sentences to ask a question, please.
Maharaj, can we use that motivation that we chant our japa, not only for ourselves, not only for Krishna, to connect to Krishna, but for the benefit of others?
Yes. That's why Haridas Thakur said you should chant loudly. He said it's better because you benefit living beings floating in the air, anyone in the water, little spiders up in there in the rafters, they'll hear the holy name. So yes. 1 minute left.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Being in material world and going back to giving, sometimes we end up in a situation that we give, and we start feeling, okay, the other person might be taking advantage of me.
Yeah, that's why you give to Krishna. Krishna says, Neha bikramadashosti pratyavayana vidyate swalpamapya siddharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Material world, everybody's giving. I mean, the principle's there. They're either forced to give. we have our doctrine of preemptive giving. It says, everyone's going to give up everything anyway. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham, death comes, go, okay, give it all back. But if you're smart enough to give it away to Krishna before it's all taken away from you, then you win. Otherwise, you're just another loser. And yeah, if we give to people who, if it's out of the context of Krishna consciousness, then such giving is not shreyas, it's preyas. Although people think it's shreyas, like on a morning walk, somebody ran up to Prabhupada and said, I've started a free food program to feed the homeless. And Prabhupada said, who told you to do that? The man was a little taken aback and he said, well, I'm helping people. And Prabhupada said, who told you to do that? And then Prabhupada gave the example of the fingers that try to feed themselves, or if you try to take care of them independently without feeding the stomach, then they won't be taken care of. So one has to understand the principle of where to give. That's why bhoktaram yajatapasam. You have to understand what yajna is. Krishna can take everything, and he can digest it. Other people, they can barely take anything. A lot of people, they can't take things, they can't accept them, or they can't digest them. And when we give to others, they may not be able to reciprocate. But when you give in the context of shreyas, which means Krishna consciousness, then even when it appears that people are not able to take it, we may not see the ultimate benefit they get. For instance, when we offer people Krishna consciousness, like an opportunity to chant, even if they don't immediately take it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said to the members of his ashram, he said, you should go out every day and go to at least 3 doors. And he said, even if they close the door and they don't accept what you have, they'll still think, oh, a spiritual person came to my door, and they'll get benefit from that. So we have to be judicious in the way that we apply the giving principle and understand how to give for the person's ultimate benefit. That's why the verse was so important in context of Tava Katamritam, because it's about giving people the transcendental vibration of Krishna consciousness. And that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for the beautiful morning program. It was soul-stirring today, wasn't it? From pillar to post. Fantastic. And just after this, I think we get to go to Prasadam, right? You have an announcement? Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Radhakir Chor Gopinath, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Radha Krishna. If you so desire, please instill in our hearts a mood of shreyas, doing ultimate good for ourselves, and eschewing all things which are preyas. And also, please empower us to give to others the transcendental sound vibration in appropriate ways so that they will be happy to take it. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. The proposal passes. Vanchakalpatarishya kripa sindhave vacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakuri vaishnavini ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribol. Thank you.